Hi guys, welcome to the third video for Module 2, that is Chapter 3 of beginning iOS development. We're in the middle of developing an application with two buttons that changes the text of a label when either button is pressed. We had declared an outlet for the label and an action method for the buttons last time, and let's get right to it and finish up the code for that action method so we can test our application. I'm going to pretty it up a little bit after that, and we'll proceed from there. Okay, so in the previous video we had the beagles. In this video we seem to have gumdrop the cat, so you will hear the various animals throughout the videos, and I hope it doesn't bother you too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and write the code for this action method. What we're going to basically have to do is get a pointer to the action method, or not a pointer, but get a name we can use for the action method, and we'll assign some text to it. Now you notice we have a sender argument here, and we're going to use that to figure out which button we're going to use. So I don't expect you to understand all this syntax at this point because we haven't really talked about Swift, but we're going to let this title be a string. It's implicitly typed because we're going to call it sender.title, and title is a property of the sender object that we're going to use to tell which one is selected, and we're going to specify that that does need to be initialized. We're going to get rid of this implicit type up here because we don't need it, and we're going to let the new variable text equal a string consisting of, we'll fill in the title string button pressed. And then in the last line, we will we need to set the text property of the outlet to be that text we just defined. And all the error messages go away. Don't be too worried about error messages that come up in the middle while you're typing. They'll go away as soon as you get stuff finished. Notice you don't have to put semicolons at the end of lines in Swift, and that's a sort of a difference from Java, C, and C++. Let's go ahead and label things a little bit more descriptively. I get to show you I've selected this attributes inspector up here. I said there are a number of different kinds of inspectors that show you different things about whatever's selected in the interface builder in the code. And in this case, we've got this label selector. If we select its attributes inspector, we can change its attributes. For example, we can cause the text, instead of just saying label, to say no button pressed initially. Now let's go back and move the layout here so that it stays centered. And we're going to let's change the text of the buttons as well. Let's call this one the right button. You'll notice it automatically changes the, it's moving too many things here. It automatically changes the text on it, and we'll realign it with the human interface guideline lines with the other button. We'll call this one left button. And let's move it so that it is not too close to the center, and so that it's lined up with the other one, both the top and bottom of the button, which of course are invisible, and the center line of the text. So we've got our labels the way we want them. We've got the code that runs set up when we want it to run. I don't like these names, my label and right button, but let's just show you that this works. These are these names we put in with the interface builder. Now to run the app, we'll go up here and run. It's going to build it for an iPhone 8. And I've got dead air to fill here while it starts the simulator or emulator rather, for the iPhone 8. What we're going to do is sort of make this layout work a little more nicely with a wide variety of phones. We're going to change these, and I want to change the names of both the outline and the action. And there's a little bit of extra work you're going to have to do that, because if you just sort of change them in the code, it's going to break things. We're waiting for the emulator to load, and based on what kind of a Mac you have, this will take more or less time. We'll go through some more of these inspectors while I'm waiting for the emulator to load up. There's a size inspector that you can use if you're setting the dimensions of something. We'll talk more about doing that a little later on as well. It's sort of dangerous to hard set the size of controls because you don't know whether your app's running on an iPhone 4 or an iPhone XR or something with a huge screen, or even an iPad with a much bigger screen. So we want to be careful in the way we use the size inspector, but it tells us the sizes that things have. We'll come back and look at some more inspectors later, since I noticed that our emulator is up and running, no button is pressed, and you notice that this thing really isn't centered, so we definitely need to do some work on the way it looks. But let's press the left button, and it looks like we've got a crash. Let's make sure both buttons are crashing. We'll stop it. For some reason it restarted. And I get a crash there, I notice as well. Either way, when I press either button. So we've got a little bit of debugging to do. I'm going to let you think about what's going on there, and we'll come back to it in the next video.